Many people speak about the Buddha as if every calm quote on the internet came directly from his mouth. Images circulate with serene backgrounds and soft music, claiming absolute authority. Buddha said this, Buddha taught that. Over time, these ideas become so familiar that they feel unquestionably true. Yet when we look closely at the earliest Buddhist texts, we discover something surprising. Many of the most popular beliefs attributed to the Buddha are things he never actually said. Some even go against the core of his teaching. One of the most common misconceptions is the idea that the Buddha said, "Life is suffering." This phrase is repeated endlessly, often used to portray Buddhism as pessimistic or gloomy. But the Buddha never said that life itself is suffering. What he taught was more precise and far more subtle. He spoke about dukkha, a word that does not simply mean suffering. Dukkha refers to unsatisfactoriness, instability, and the inability of conditioned things to provide lasting fulfillment. Joy exists. Happiness exists. Beauty exists. The Buddha acknowledged all of this. What he pointed out is that even pleasant experiences are fragile and impermanent, and when we cling to them, dissatisfaction arises. Reducing this nuanced teaching to life is suffering distorts his message and hides its practical wisdom. Another widespread belief is that the Buddha taught people to detach from everything and stop caring. Many assume Buddhism promotes emotional coldness or indifference, as if enlightenment means becoming numb. The Buddha never taught apathy. He taught non-attachment, which is often misunderstood. Non-attachment does not mean rejecting love, relationships, or joy. It means engaging fully with life without clinging, without the fear-driven need to possess or control. In fact, the Buddha emphasized compassion, kindness, and empathy repeatedly. A person who truly does not care cannot be compassionate, and compassion is at the heart of Buddhist practice. There is also a popular idea that the Buddha said desire is bad and should be eliminated entirely. This belief leads many to think Buddhism is anti-pleasure or anti-ambition. But the Buddha never condemned all desire. He distinguished between different types of desire. Craving that arises from ignorance and leads to suffering is what he encouraged people to understand and abandon. At the same time, he clearly recognized wholesome desires, such as the desire to practice, to develop wisdom, and to reduce harm. Without any desire at all, no one would walk the path. The Buddha's teaching was not about suppressing human motivation but about transforming it. Another phrase often attributed to the Buddha is, "Everything happens for a reason." This statement sounds comforting, but it does not accurately reflect his teaching. The Buddha spoke about cause and effect, about actions leading to consequences, but he did not claim that everything happens for a meaningful cosmic reason designed for our personal growth. In Buddhism, events arise due to conditions, not because the universe is trying to teach us a lesson. Sometimes things happen simply because the causes were present. This view is not meant to be depressing, it is meant to empower us. By understanding conditions, we gain the ability to change them. Many people believe the Buddha taught blind faith and obedience to authority. This could not be further from the truth. One of the most remarkable aspects of his teaching is how strongly he encouraged questioning and direct experience. He famously advised people not to accept teachings simply because they are ancient, popular, or spoken by a respected teacher. Instead, he urged individuals to examine teachings for themselves and see whether they lead to less greed, less hatred, and less confusion. This attitude makes Buddhism feel surprisingly modern. The Buddha never asked to be believed without understanding. Another common misconception is that the Buddha promised constant peace and happiness to those who follow his path. Modern spiritual culture often markets Buddhism as a quick escape from stress, anxiety, and pain. But the Buddha never said the path would be easy or comfortable. He spoke honestly about discipline, effort, and facing uncomfortable truths about oneself. Inner peace, in Buddhism, is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to remain clear and balanced even when difficulties arise. The Buddha did not sell enlightenment as a permanent feel-good state, he described it as freedom from ignorance. Some people believe the Buddha said you should withdraw from society and avoid the world. While monastic life was central to the early Buddhist community, the Buddha never taught that everyone must renounce ordinary life. He gave extensive teachings to lay people about relationships, work, ethics, and responsibility. He acknowledged that people live different lives with different capacities. The path was never one size fits all. The idea that Buddhism rejects everyday life entirely is a misunderstanding born from selective listening. Another belief people often attribute to the Buddha is that anger should never arise. When anger appears, people sometimes feel guilty, thinking they have failed spiritually. The Buddha never claimed that emotions would magically stop arising. What he taught was mindfulness and understanding. Anger, like any mental state, arises due to conditions. The practice is not to pretend it does not exist, but to observe it clearly, understand it, and not be controlled by it. Expecting oneself to never feel anger is unrealistic and can actually create more suffering. There is also a modern trend of attributing self-help slogans to the Buddha, phrases like just be positive or choose happiness. These ideas fit well into motivational culture, but they are not what the Buddha taught. He did not encourage forced positivity or denial of pain. In fact, he emphasized seeing reality clearly, even when it is uncomfortable. Genuine happiness in Buddhism arises not from positive thinking, but from wisdom, ethical living, and understanding the nature of experience. Another widely believed idea is that the Buddha taught reincarnation as a soul moving from one body to another. This assumption comes from projecting other religious ideas onto Buddhism. The Buddha explicitly rejected the notion of a permanent, unchanging self. His teaching on rebirth is subtle and often misunderstood. It does not involve a soul traveling intact across lifetimes. Instead, it describes a process of cause and effect, a continuity of conditions without a fixed essence. Simplifying this into the soul reincarnates misses the radical insight of non-self that lies at the center of his teaching. Many people also believe the Buddha said meditation is about emptying the mind or stopping thoughts completely. This misconception frustrates countless beginners. The Buddha never instructed people to force the mind into silence. Thoughts arise naturally. Meditation, in his teaching, is about awareness, clarity, and understanding. Over time, the mind may become calmer, but the goal is insight, not blankness. Trying to stop thoughts often creates tension rather than wisdom. Perhaps the most ironic misconception of all is the belief that the Buddha wanted to be worshipped as a god. Statues, rituals, and offerings sometimes reinforce this impression. Yet the Buddha never claimed divinity. He described himself as awakened, not divine. He pointed people back to their own experience and responsibility. Any reverence shown toward him was meant to express gratitude and respect, not blind devotion. Turning the Buddha into a god contradicts his own emphasis on self-reliance and understanding, so why do these misconceptions persist? Partly because simple slogans are easier to share than complex ideas. Partly because people naturally reshape teachings to fit their cultural expectations and emotional needs. And partly because over centuries, layers of interpretation, poetry, and tradition have blended with the original teachings. This does not mean those traditions are useless, but it does mean we should be careful when we claim absolute authority. Understanding what the Buddha never said is not about being pedantic or dismissive. It is about rediscovering the depth of his teaching. When we strip away the comforting cliches and popular myths, what remains is something far more powerful. A teaching that does not promise easy answers, but offers a way to understand suffering, transform the mind, and live with clarity and compassion. The Buddha did not offer slogans to believe in. He offered a path to walk, one step at a time, grounded in direct experience and honest observation. By questioning what we think we know about Buddhism, we are already practicing one of its core principles. Not blind belief, but mindful inquiry. Not borrowed wisdom, but understanding born from seeing for ourselves. Thanks for watching. Our channel is new and needs your support. In our channel you can find many videos on the history and philosophical teachings of Buddhism. Please subscribe to our channel to support the teachings of Buddha on YouTube.